All right, before we move on to these verses in Jeremiah, let's establish what is exactly happening here between these two lines. And that is a dateless past. Between line 1 and line 2, there are hundreds of thousands, even millions of years of time that takes place. Now, my friends, this is where our missing earth history is. This is that beginning division between so many of the modern traditionalist, religious-minded people who have been born into this interpretation of the Bible, and then from that interpretation they reject any amount of academic truth that supports the world and its geologic dateless past. Well, we can see that the Bible itself declares the earth being older than 6,000 years, that is once again another false doctrine and fallacy. It's a part of that separation to keep the spiritual side separated from the material fact side, and this is an instance of those material facts being darkened from your mind so that you would not notice or see it. But praise the Lord that the Scofield Study Bible and those men who have looked very deeply into these scriptures have found and made these connections for us, because it's right here in plain view. So between line 1 and line 2, millions of years, a dateless past. Earth has already been created here. The act has been done. The second line is describing the judgment that's taken place on earth and how it looks after this judgment. Now, for clarification, let's read here. Neither here nor in verses 14 through 18 is an original creative act implied. A different word is used. The sense is made to appear, made visible. The sun and the moon were created in the beginning. The light, of course, came from the sun, but the vapor diffused the light. Later, the sun appeared in an unclouded sky. So we see all the description on the next page about the lights. But what they're telling you is that it wasn't a creative act then, that it's already been created, that the light is being made to appear through the vapor, which is a result of this judgment that's taken place on our planet. And you can imagine that it might have something to do with water, volcanoes, whatever, these types of cataclysms that are associated with judgments on planets. Now, as we could go to Jeremiah, Jeremiah is really going to open our eyes. Jeremiah 4, chapter 23. I beheld the earth, and lo, it was without form and void, and the heavens, and they had no light. Now remember what I told you about noticing how the phraseology in certain passages from separate books in the Bible were relative. Notice here that he's using the exact same phraseology to describe the earth, but it's the earth after judgment. Now, from this point here, he says the earth was without form and void. Now, I want you to see now that he's not talking about the earth any longer, that his vision is seeing to another place, and let's look at it very closely. And I beheld the mountains, and lo, they trembled, and all the hills moved lightly. And I beheld, and lo, there was no man, and all the birds of heaven were fled. And I beheld, and lo, the fruitful place was a wilderness, and all the cities thereof were broken down at the presence of the Lord, and by his fierce anger. Now wait a minute. He's saying, first of all, that there was no man, and he's talking about the birds of heaven have fled this destruction, and then he describes that this fruitful place was a wilderness. Well, my friends, he's not talking about earth. The earth is at this point is without form and void. So he is shifting his visions to another place, which is a part of this destruction also. I'll come back.